Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Sunday, February the 1st. Happy February to you. We are happy to have you in for another episode of the Prime Time program. If you are interested in the various things that Robert Saleh is going to have to work through in this upcoming season, as I know many of you are, and hoping, I'm sure, if you're a Titans fan, to see him overcome some of the things that were not effective for him in his first head coaching stint with the New York Jets. One of those things is the management of in-game procedure and how Robert Saleh is going to try and have to improve from his first tenure as a head coach into this new phase of his career, especially given the fact that he's going to have defensive play calling responsibilities, that he wants defensive play calling responsibilities, and that is the way that he is going to approach this next job. So there's a couple of layers to that, right? Who's going to be the defensive coordinator? Who's going to be his extra set of eyes and ears up in the booth? Will they be better than Brian Callahan's guy, who famously was informing the coach things like one elbow does not equal 2 feet, when it very much does in this particular situation? Shout out Elikiah Manor and the Denver game. There are going to be a couple of different things to this. And one of those questions we do have the answer to. Paul Kaharski did some reporting over the weekend, and we are going to talk about a big solution for Robert Saleh's first real challenge as Titans head coach. Share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, wherever you are spending your valuable and precious time with us. We always do appreciate your participation that way. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Jamarco says he loves the rejuvenated Buck. Yeah, listen, I want to have fun too. I think many of you think that I just, have decided to be perpetually miserable. No, I'm tired of them making me miserable on a regular basis. I am also cautiously optimistic about your football season, if for no other reason than I have to be, because I can't go through another offseason looking at them and thinking like, God damn, if they go 3-14 again, I swear. But understand that they still have to pay these things off, right? Like, I can be cautiously optimistic about their upcoming year and about the coaching staff that they're putting together and about Mike Borgonzi and what that means for Cam and all these different things, right? The way that it should go if it went exactly to plan, as many of you have imagined. But they still have to do the damn thing, right? And that is going to be a more extended process. So while we are collectively, I think, in the honeymoon phase right now, it still doesn't mean that they are going to do all of the things that you would like in a perfect world for them to do. But as we work our way through these things, this is one answer to a big question that we had about Robert Saleh, and that's obviously the thing that we're going to dive into tonight. So welcome into A to Z Sports Primetime. Lovely to see you if you're new to the show. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by the wonderful people at TDOT, where the Tennessee Department of Transportation reminds you that you can be a part of the solution to end littering. Nobody trashes TN.com. By Simon Says Nashville. Listen, a lot of small businesses have been affected by the weather, by the NES power outages. My God. What a mess for those of you in East, a lot of you in Belmead, here in Middle Tennessee, if you've been experiencing issues. Simon says one of these small businesses that we're very happy to be partners with is also a business that is in need of some support after a very difficult week dealing with the weather situation. So if you have time, I'm not saying that you need to go buy a shirt just to keep Simon Says lights on, but Simon Says and other small businesses working their way through the last week. It sounds like it's going to be another difficult week for a lot of people in Middle Tennessee. So not just Simon Says, frankly, any small business, but of course we love the small business that we work with here at SimonsAysNashville.com, the premier men's clothing spot in Nashville. Of course, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, online at tworiversford.com. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service on offer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online, like I mentioned. All right, so one of the biggest questions that we have about Robert Saleh. What is the biggest question that you had about Robert Saleh coming into this particular situation? Once he gets hired, beyond, all right, so he didn't work out with the Jets. Jets fans don't think that he's worth a damn. I've talked about this On the radio show, I have a producer in Los Angeles. So for those of you who hang out with us on a regular basis, you know that we have a variety of different kinds of shows that we do, right? We got the primetime show, which is me, it's Robert, it's you guys, it's live streamed, it's a different format. We've got the radio show here locally in Nashville with Robert and Lucas and Ben Jones and Brett Kern and Nate Washington and all of our friends, which is obviously a different version of the expanded Titans universe. And then we've got the install, obviously, and we'll keep you updated because Cosell and I are planning a very fun event for you upcoming in May. Usually the first weekend after the draft. That's our target date right now. May the 1st, I believe, is that Friday. So we will keep you updated on all those different things. And you understand that that's a weekly podcast and that we do the live show and all those different things. We also have the Fox National Show, which I'm sitting here with my headset on my desk from Fox because I did the Fox show yesterday from home. And one of my producers, because it's produced out of Los Angeles, my co-host Jason Fitz is in Connecticut. I'm here in Nashville. Mary Mack, Ian Roddy. We had Bree yesterday filling in. We've got a whole different crew of people that help us get on the air nationally. Ian Roddy, my producer for the national show, is a diehard Jets fan, and he's been, kind of chirping at me the last couple of weeks since they hired Robert Saleh. Like, oh, you're going to love this guy. And, just kind of acting the way that a Jets fan acts about a coach who didn't succeed with the New York Jets. And my argument to Ian is completely fair. Like, he screwed up a lot of different things. I don't know if he's going to be that exact same guy. I understand why you feel the way that you do. It's a common refrain that I hear from Jets fans that, no, this guy's, 4 seasons, never made the playoffs. I mean, not 4 full seasons. We understand he got fired 5 games into his 4th season, but his best record was 7-10 twice, never made the playoffs with the Jets. And understanding you got a lot of shit you got to work through with the Jets, it's still, he failed, right? So why is this time going to be different? Well, that's something that Robert Saleh has answered questions about left and right and will not be able to actually answer those questions until we get into the season and see some of the changes, how he's tried to implement things, all manner of different, tips and tricks and tools that he may not have had in his first opportunity that he'll try to apply to his second opportunity. Will it work? We have no idea, which is kind of the process of this. So one of the biggest questions about Robert Saleh, and frankly, this is your Two Rivers Ford take, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can answer this particular question. It is made possible by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service on offer. What is Robert Saleh's biggest challenge as Titans head coach? You could pick from a variety of different things on the board. I think there's a couple of different things, obviously, depending on what's most important to you. We all understand that figuring out the offense and Cam Ward and supporting Cam Ward is the utmost thing for everybody in the organization. But it's also one of those situations where you look at him, Saleh specifically, and say, okay, for him, though, because Cam Ward is not necessarily, he's going to be responsible for helping Cam along, but the development of Cam Ward is not something that Robert Saleh is actually going to have that much of a hands-on experience with. He'll be able to show Cam different defensive looks. He'll obviously assist him in team meetings and different things that he's seeing from other defenses around the league. The coaches obviously compare notes, they communicate, and Robert Saleh is responsible for setting the tone, setting the approach, and prioritizing the work for the various members of the staff, where it be Brian Dable, Shea Tierney, who's the quarterback's coach, Carmen Brasillo, I believe, is the offensive line coach's name. I'm blanking on a couple of them. There are a lot of names moving fast and furiously these last couple of weeks, but we understand that the quarterback stuff is always going to come up in conversation. There's a variety of different things, though, beyond just how badly Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, who was the general manager of the Jets at the time, because he's also culpable in this, they screwed up the quarterback situation in New York. They traded Sam Darnold. They drafted Zach Wilson. They failed to properly support Zach Wilson. Maybe Zach Wilson is never going to be a good NFL quarterback. Maybe that was just one of those things. But they also did not do enough around him to put Zach Wilson in the best possible position to succeed. He hired an offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, by the way, who just became the head coach of the Cardinals today, who did not have a great first outing as a non-play calling offensive coordinator, who then joined the Jets in a play calling capacity. He was out very soon after that. They bring in Nathaniel Hackett with Aaron Rodgers. That goes sideways. All of a sudden, Todd Downing is the offensive coordinator for the Jets. And I don't have to tell you how the Todd Downing experience goes. Vols says leading an awful offensive coordinator. Leading an awful offensive coordinator is his biggest challenge. Maybe I'm not quite understanding the phrasing on this, but basically not having a good solution on that side of the ball, where defense, they had their shit together, right? Their personnel was good. Their strategy was good. The coordinator that he had in Jeff Ulbrich, who's now in Atlanta with a top defense, really, really good. Robert Saleh didn't have to call the plays. Lane says, any insight on defensive coordinator? Yeah, I think they're looking at a variety of different options. I think that you're going to see some familiar names who have had success as play calling defensive coordinators come up. I would be curious. In fact, one of them has coaching experience in the AFC South. As a matter of fact, I would keep an eye on somebody like Gus Bradley, who Rob Neal brings up, was just let go by the 49ers. It's certainly a name to be considered, and Gus Bradley would be an ideal option for somebody to assist, somebody who Robert Saleh knows, not just from their time in San Francisco together, but I believe their time in Jacksonville and Seattle also had some crossover. I need to double check the years that Saleh was in Jacksonville and Seattle, but I believe Gus Bradley would have some crossover there. So, again, will it be Gus Bradley? I have no idea, but it's an interesting name, and I know that they're considering a variety of different options at this point in time. I would imagine that you would have some idea of who your defensive coordinator would be no later than the middle of the week. You'll start to see a lot more things take shape there, I'd say, in the next couple of days. So no rush, and some interesting names that are out there as well. But you would like somebody with as much veteran experience as humanly possible. I know Titans fans were interested in Jim Schwartz. I don't know if there's anything to that other than the connection that obviously Schwartz spent a huge portion of his career here. I've not had any indication that Jim Schwartz is an actual possibility. I'm sure they would welcome the opportunity to talk to Jim Schwartz. If, there's the Cleveland situation for Schwartz is a little complicated right now. So just keep an eye on a couple of different things that are moving parts around there. But what is Robert Saleh's biggest challenge as Titans head coach? Not what failed him in New York, but what he has to get right here. And what he has to get right here is the fact that he gave an answer in his press conference the other day about, he was asked, what would he do differently? And he gave an interesting answer where he tried to dance around without throwing people under the bus in New York. I'll just let you hear from Robert Saleh himself right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Tennessee Department of Transportation, where TDOT reminds you that nobody trashes Tennessee. Be a part of the solution to end littering at nobodytrashestn.com. A great initiative for an awesome cause, courtesy of TDOT. So, Robert Saleh, when asked what he would do differently this time around.
The lessons you learned from New York, I'm curious, what are some of the specific things that you plan to do differently or you intend to do differently than obviously the
I don't know
Jets
if we have time, man.
Let's start us off with some big ones.
There's little things, I don't want to get in great detail on all that stuff, just for sake of just individuality and all that. But just one thing, and it's such a small thing. I didn't call plays in New York, and I just kind of gave it all to the coordinators, even though we were still part of the game planning and all that. I joke with Borgo on game day when I didn't call plays. I felt like I was just a timeout and red flag guy. I was just kind of I had the greatest seat in the house as a fan. So calling plays for me, it's not necessarily about control, but it's about connecting with the players. When you are a play caller and you are calling plays, you feel the strain that you're putting on them with each call. You're feeling the connection. You're feeling what each one is going through. And again, like I said, I can feel the weight of the play call on individual players in those moments. And to be able to call plays and maintain that connection, maintain that feel for what the players are going through, I think is very, very important from my seat. And it's just one of the many things that'll change throughout my tenure.
So that is Titans head coach Robert Saleh speaking at his introductory press conference. What was that? Only Thursday. It feels like that's been 100 days ago since then. But he's saying that he felt, I mean, you heard what he just said. It sounds like he felt a little bit restrained or a little bit pigeonholed, not able to contribute in as many ways as he'd like to about the situation for the Jets and how he was trying to navigate his first tenure as a head coach. And, you know, when you're trying to build a program, a championship roster, it's one of those things where you have to have you have to have the presence of mind, you have to have perspective, you have to have self-awareness. You also have to have a level of control over the situation and understand that no, some of these decisions are yours to make. Nobody's stopping you from calling defensive plays in that particular situation. You want to look sharp, you want to catch the light, you want to look like you just got some cat eye nails done, right? For those of you who understand the reference. I think that when you talk about Robert Saleh, what stands out to me about that is, well, one, Robert, you know that you were the head coach, right? Like, buddy, you have to be a little sharper than that. You have to understand, if you want to do something other than be the timeout and red flag guy, the challenge flag guy, that's entirely within your control. Like nobody made you do that. That's your decision. And you had 3 years and 5 games to make those adjustments as you felt necessary. Now, the argument might be, which would be a fair argument, well, I don't want to take that play callings away from Jeff Ulbrich, who was doing a really good job, who ended up being the interim head coach in New York, who went to Atlanta, as I mentioned, and has been very successful there with another talented defense. You have to take control of the situation. Like, that's on you, buddy. If you feel like you're just somebody who's, you know, hanging out, vibing on the sidelines, throwing a challenge flag from time to time and trying to figure out your timeouts, it also shines a bit of a light on his situational in-game management, which is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest challenges that he's up against. He was the red flag and timeout guy. He wasn't very good at it, right? Like that's something that we talk about with the AFC Championship game. Mike Vrabel and Sean Payton. Vrabel's superpower with John Stretch, is to be able to navigate complicated in-game situations, to be able to exploit the rules, exploit loopholes in the rules, and out chess match you in game beyond just schematic advantages. Vrabel's superpower is what? That he knows the rule book better than the refs, that he's on the competition committee, that he has Stretch lead these Friday meetings. And you've heard Ben Jones and Brett Kern talk about this on the radio show if you've listened to it. Stretch and Vrabel, well, Stretch may be Vrabel's superpower, but Vrabel's smart enough to understand that he needs a stretch. Now, Brian Callahan's version of that was a guy named Rob Ryder, who the organization has moved on from and who was here for years under a variety of different staffs. I think he was primarily here under Vrabel. I don't know if Rob extended back to Malarkey, but I know that Rob was here for a long time. And, you know, somebody who got a promotion under Callahan was going to be the in-game, I can't remember the exact title of the position, but somebody who is going to navigate these things with Brian Callahan, and he failed, right? And Callahan kind of took him out publicly, right? You don't hear a lot of conversation about these people until a mistake is made, and you're like, well, yeah, the booth confirmed it to me, and that can be a viable explanation. But it's an assistant game management or a game management role that a lot of coaches have, and it's a complicated job, right? You got to know the rule book better than everybody involved. You got to be on your shit. You got to make sure if you're telling a coach to throw a challenge flag that you've got all the angles possible to make sure that challenge is worth committing in that particular situation. So they've moved on from Brian Callahan's guy because obviously Callahan had some egregious in-game management situations. Cade Knox is going to be the person doing it for Robert Saleh. Kaharski was the first one to report this. He was with Brian Dable and the New York Giants from 2022 through 2025. Ryder let go. So you go from Stretch to Ryder to now Cade Knox, who will be tasked with managing this. And whether or not he's going to be somebody who is effective at this, for what it's worth, Knox went to Harvard. So at least you know he has some level of intelligence. Now, will that translate to in-game? I have no earthly idea. But it's one of those things where you have to have somebody who's going to make sure that Robert Saleh has all the tools that he needs, because he's going to be caught up calling the defense, making sure that they're making adjustments on the sideline. He will also have assistants to help him through that process. But like, you got to have somebody to make sure that you're on your shit on the offensive side of the ball too, beyond just saying, all right, Brian, go do your thing. Talking about Dable as the offensive coordinator. So that is at least an answer to the question. Will it be an effective answer is something that we have no idea about at this point in time. But Stretch is a wizard, right? Nobody's got a Stretch. It's why in the, other than Vrabel, Stretch was from Texas State. I guess he came across, or Mike came across him at some point in their early coaching tenure when Mike was still coaching linebackers at Ohio State. I believe it goes back that far. Stretch was with Sean McVay, felt it necessary to go out and get Stretch for the year that Vrabel was sitting out and doing that front office advisory role in Cleveland, whatever the official title was. And then as soon as Mike got back in the league as a head coach, Stretch went right up to New England, and they're out here doing it again, right? Giving Titans fans a little bit of, I'm sure, FOMO or just kind of looking at it longingly and being like, that used to be us, outdoing Bill Belichick with Bill Belichick things in the wild card round against Tom Brady in his last game, where you're bleeding clock with the punter in ways that you can't actually do anymore, because the league then closed that loophole after the 2019 postseason because Vrabel took advantage of it. And after seeing the way that Belichick did it, right? The student surpassing the teacher in one of those moments. I remember that talked about that way. So Stretch has always been a huge part of that. And there's not, I would argue, and I'm biased. I know Stretch his entire time here. I have great respect for him. I know that the players have great respect for him, because he goes out of his way. His job, in part, is to make sure that the players are prepared for all these different situations as a part of Mike Vrabel's coaching staff. And so I think that Stretch is the best in the league. Now, will this Knox guy be better than Rob Ryder and put you in less disadvantageous situations like with Callahan and Rob Ryder did? I have no idea, but I guess we'll have to, we at least know who's helping Saleh in this particular situation, and what will be the most effective version of that. I suppose we'll just have to find out. MB says, what is Stretch's real name? John Stryker is Stretch's real name, but he's always been referred to as Stretch. So I think that Brad Regal says, I feel like Vrabel will be a sore subject for Titans fans for the foreseeable future after next Sunday. I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl, like, yeah, there's a lot of good vibes, I think, around Titans fans right now. If Mike wins the Super Bowl, yeah, it will reflect poorly on the Titans organization. It doesn't matter whether or not it was the right decision, or whether could the Titans have been in the Super Bowl with Mike Vrabel or something like that. It doesn't matter, right? All that's done. But yeah, it will reflect poorly on the organization if Mike Vrabel is an underdog with a less talented team, goes to Santa Clara in a week from today and beats the Seattle Seahawks in ways that nobody expects him to beat the Seattle Seahawks, right? I think he's getting ready for the ultimate version of what Mike Vrabel's Titans were, right? Which is winning games that they had no business winning. And then, they would occasionally drop, and I think good for 2 or 3 every season, would occasionally drop a game that they had no business losing, right? As an underdog, Mike Vrabel, very successful. Will that apply in the Super Bowl on a neutral site against a clearly more talented team? Yeah, I have no idea how that's going to pan out. Listen, if I was able to bet on the NFL, I'd bet on the Patriots. I really would. I've seen them do it too many times. I've seen that staff do it so many times, and people keep talking about the strength of the schedule for the Patriots in the regular season, and they're right. It's absolutely the weakest in the league this year. It's not an opinion thing. It's quantifiable. They had the weakest strength of schedule this season. But since they've been in the postseason, they beat a Chargers team that's good. They've beaten a Texans team with C.J. Stroud melting down, but the best defense in football. And then they went and beat the Denver Broncos in Denver in the elements and outcoached Sean Payton. Like, I'm not betting against those dudes. You're crazy. So we'll see. I think that a lot of this for Saleh, there's always going to be. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go as far as like Titans succeeding or what the Titans do, what the Titans head coach does, whether it's Callahan, whether it's Saleh, whether it's whomever the next guy is. I don't know if there's always going to be Vrabel comparisons or if after time it'll fade. I would have thought that the A.J. Brown thing would have faded by now, but the Titans have also been horrendous. And A.J.'s been on successful teams, and that always that still comes up. I mean, it's years later. What A.J. was traded in the 22 draft. We're now in 2026, and it still comes up, right? So I don't know if Vrabel's just going to be another one of those where no matter how many years removed from it you are, people are still going to bring it up if one continues to have greater success than the other. AJ has had considerably more success than the Titans. AJ's won a Super Bowl, right? Will Mike Vrabel be the next version of the A.J. Brown situation? I don't know. It does feel that way. But if you're Robert Saleh, you can't worry about that. And I think he's done a good job kind of deflecting. I don't know the past of this building. I'm just here to try and get the best version of this organization that I can at this point in time. We'll see if he can pull it off. All right, a little bit of Sunday fun day. We'll save the coaching topic for tomorrow because I do think a larger coaching topic for tomorrow because all 10 vacancies have been filled right now, and I think it'd be curious on the radio show to talk about what we learned from this NFL coaching cycle. So Robert, we'll table that until tomorrow's radio show. A little bit of Sunday fun day though. What's the best thing that you saw this weekend? No NFL football for the first time in quite some time this weekend. So what did you see that you liked? I will give you something football adjacent. Well, it's actually directly football correlated, even though we didn't have a football game today. Here in just a second, right after I remind you that it's always great to support small business, and nobody does it better than Simon Says Nashville. The premier men's clothing spot in Middle Tennessee is Simon Says. Go visit them in Wedgwood, Houston. They've got their big one-year anniversary party coming up this week. They had to delay it because of the weather. They're very excited to have you guys in their store. A lot of great deals at simonsaysnashville.com right now. So many cool items that you won't find anywhere else, certainly not in the city of Nashville. simonsaysnashville.com for more information. The best thing that I saw this weekend was Chimere Dike at the Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl is taking place this week. A part of the new format for the Pro Bowl is that it's going to happen consecutively or during the Super Bowl week. Chim Dike and Jeff Simmons are both in attendance in Santa Clara on behalf of the Titans. And Jim Wyatt, who is always on the scene, caught up with Chimere Dike at the Pro Bowl today.
It's awesome. I mean, just to be around this caliber of player, kind of celebrate the season that took place. It's a lot of fun.
What was practice like?
It was good. The guys were relaxed. We got some good focus working, kind of install some plays, but it was just nice to be around the guys and have some fun.
Who you're chatting up a lot during these practices? I saw you talking to a couple of guys, learning plays, and what's that camaraderie been like?
Yeah, it was nice to meet some of the guys you compete against, especially receivers that you go against. JT, I know him from Wisconsin, so being able to connect with him was really cool. But really, all the guys super nice and down to earth, and it's been fun.
You and Jeff both here. Cool to be representing the Titans, and hope maybe in years to come, maybe playing in Super Bowls, but obviously more guys at this event.
Yeah, it's been great to have Jeff here to see a team. I know what he put in and how hard he worked all season, so to see him getting his flowers is really cool.
So that is courtesy of Jim Wyatt, Chimere Dike at the Pro Bowl. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate your guys' participation. Always enjoy you visiting with us. We'll talk more about the coaching carousel, how the Titans fared relative to other teams, what we learned from it tomorrow. We will have, I believe, Ben Jones is back from the beach. If I'm not mistaken, I'll need to check in with Benjamin. And we will certainly have Brett Kern, which we look forward to, as always, on Monday. We'll look forward to having you from 10 to 1 with me, with Robert, with Lucas, tomorrow morning on 104.5 The Zone.
He's a hoe, and I want that known. Like, I see why he got punched in the nuts, because that's some, like, he's